the link has some issues.
Great. Well, we appreciate you being here, and I'd like to start just by welcoming everyone just before we return to our slides. And first of all, thank everyone for being here and taking time to learn about our dual language immersion program tonight. My name is Jason Ryman. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Educational Services. And we're very excited to talk to you tonight about dual language immersion, some of the work that's happened so far, and what our plans are for next year. As you may or may not know, this is our first time we're going to offer a program of this sort. And we're very fortunate that we've got some amazing collaborators and leaders that have been helping to put this together, starting with our Director of Elementary Education, Ms. Nia Rashichi. We're also joined by two amazing folks who joined our district.
We are not in the interpreting channel yet, so Jane, please don't start interpreting yet until they locate us into the interpreting channel.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Should we give instructions for interpretation now, Jason, so that then we can move into the interpretation channel?
Absolutely. We have two more introductions, and then we're going to move right into that.
Great.
So I want to also introduce Ms. Barbara Evans and Dr. Odie Douglas, as well as Ms. Principal De La Torre, who's going to be principal of our DLI program. I also want to introduce Isidra, our Spanish interpreter, who is going to share information in English, but also the other interpreters will follow with sharing information on how you can access our presentation this evening in your primary language. We will have access to Spanish language as well as Cantonese interpretation. So Isidra, if you would please.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Tonight's meeting has simultaneous interpretation, and you can access the interpretation by looking in a few minutes. You're gonna see, or in a few seconds, better said, you're gonna see at the bottom of your Zoom screen a little icon of a globe, and when you click on that, you're gonna be able to choose Spanish, English, or Cantonese or Chinese. Buenas noches a todos. Esta noche la reunión tiene servicio de interpretación simultánea. En breves momentos ustedes van a ver en la parte de abajo de su pantalla un icono de un globo terráqueo. Van a poder hacer clic allí en ese icono y ahí van a poder escoger su idioma español, chino o inglés. Gracias. And now we can start with the interpretation services. Jane, do you want to translate into English, into Chinese, what we just said?
Oh, okay. Thank you. So tonight, okay，我哋而家今晚會幫你提供廣東話嘅翻譯。如果你需要廣東話翻譯咧，等陣咧，係嗰個屏幕下方咧，你會睇到一個地球儀。請你近嗰個地球儀咧，選擇中文或者係廣東話。咁係你可以入到嗰個廣東話嘅音頻嗰度咧，你可以聽到同步嘅翻譯啦。Okay, thank you.
And now we can start the interpretation channel.
Great, and we will give just one moment for folks to transition over if you are interested. As what was mentioned before, there's an interpretation tab at the bottom right of your screen. We'll give any participants just one moment to transition over before we continue. Okay, so just moving forward, again, I'd like to say how excited we are to be beginning this process of offering a dual language immersion program in Castro Valley Unified School District. For those of you who know, there's so many benefits to dual language immersion, including learning about cultures and languages, really fully immersing yourself in Spanish language as well as Spanish culture. And as we know, learning a new language means learning a new culture and learning new perspectives. All thought is based on language. So it also involves students being able to learn new ways of thinking and looking at the world around them and becoming exposed to a whole new world, quite literally, in many ways. In leading this charge, as I mentioned before, we have some very special leaders with us today. and I'll hand it off to Ms. Rashichi, who has been our district leader, along with our team with Ms. De La Torre, Ms. Evans, and Dr. Douglas. I'll go ahead and, should I start the slides at this point, Ms. Rashichi?
Yes, please. Thank you, Dr. Ryman. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. We are extremely excited about this opportunity that we're going to be presenting and having for our students. So thank you for coming tonight to our first family informational meeting. We have one tonight. We will also have another one on December 6th that will be in Spanish only. We are recording this meeting so that anybody that can't make it tonight and that can't make it on December 6th will still have access to the information. Next slide. So one of the things that we, of course, welcome, and Dr. Ryman already did a beautiful job of that, but the words underneath the screen, any program that we start, we're really dedicated to, this is part of our strategic plan, the words that are underneath this welcome slide. We really want to make sure that any program that we implement ensures that our students become adaptable, critical thinkers who have a bright future ahead of them. So we always want to put that into our messaging and to our information to our families. Next slide. So what are we going to do tonight? After our introductions, we're going to give you a general overview of the dual language immersion program, what it is, what it looks like, what does the application process look like. We'll talk a little bit about parent and guardian and family involvement. We'll get to questions and answers. So we'll ask you to hold your questions until we get through the slides, because we think some of the slides will answer some of the very questions that you have. But we definitely will have opportunity for you to ask questions tonight, and we will answer those questions. And then we'll also point you in the direction of our kind of living document, our frequently asked questions document that has a lot of the questions that we have been asked through over the last couple of months, because we have presented at our Project Unidos family meeting. We've presented at our elementary African American Parent Advisory Committee meeting, and we've presented to the Parent Leadership Council just today. So we have lots of opportunities where we're making sure that the information is getting out to folks about our new DLI programs. So next slide. So what are we out to do? We have an advisory committee that's made up of students, teachers, administrators, families, family members, and we're out to make sure that this Spanish dual language immersion program does the following things. We wanted to make sure that we created a 3-year plan for this year and the next 2 years, so everybody can see where we're starting and where we're planning to go. That includes a timeline so that people can see year to year the work that's being done. We, of course, want to learn from anybody that has gone before us. And so we have really checked in with the expertise of folks that have already started dual language immersion programs. And we know that there's a clear communication plan, starts with family informational nights like tonight. We have some parents that have been interested in starting a DLI program for some time, and finally we're going to be able to get it off the ground starting in the 22-23 school year. And last but not least, we are dedicated to keeping our board updated. We've done a presentation already with them, a board study session. The board has been wanting to have a DLI program for quite some time as well. And now we're all together on the same path of really implementing in the 22-23 school year. So that's what we're out to do and show. And next slide. So I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Principal De La Torre, and she's going to do the next few slides.
All right, good evening. Buenas tardes or buenas noches, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And so as you can see on this slide, this program that we're going to be doing is going to be both for native Spanish speakers. Children whose their first language is Spanish, and also native English speakers or English only children. And they'll be in the same classroom. And this will be, the purpose of the program is so that our students become bilingual, biliterate, and bicultural. This program will start off in our TK kindergarten program, and it will start with 90-10, which is 90% Spanish, 10% English. Next slide, please. All right, and as you can see right here, it shows you how gradually the students continue to still use the language. So as I mentioned, TK kindergarten, 90% in Espanol, Spanish, and 10% English. And as you notice, each grade level goes up decreases in the Spanish until it balances out in 4th through 5th grade. So it's 50-50 at that point. Next slide, please. And so now what we have is we have a brief video that gives you a snapshot of a DLI program. So we can have the video, please.
So I've got my essay written, and I've been working on it for about a week.
Dr. Ryman, we don't hear the sound.
Just one moment, please. Share sound.
Language immersion program are for students to
Okay, let's give that another.
El músico.
Oso, okay. Pero. Bueno, en vez de comprarlos en una tienda.
The dual immersion program starts in kindergarten, and half of our classes are native Spanish speakers and the other half are native English speakers, and we are immersing our students in Spanish.
The goals of a dual language immersion program are for students to develop fluency in reading, writing, listening, and speaking in both English and Spanish, and to develop cross-cultural skills.
I have 2 children at Leopold Elementary, and I was very excited that dual immersion was becoming part of Leopold programming.
I recommend anybody that don't have their child in a second language program to find out how to get their child in the program, even if they have to get on a waiting list, so that when kindergarten starts, they will be accepted.
Me gusta aprender español porque puedo aprender nuevas palabras y cuando aprende nuevas palabras puedo ser más inteligente y cuando soy más inteligente me siento feliz.
The kindergarten level, 90% of the academic instruction is in Spanish and 10% is in English. Every year thereafter, the percentage of English increases until students arrive at the 4th grade level when the instruction is 50% in Spanish and 50% in English.
Chiefs, many of which are Sioux and Arapaho.
I worried that if he was going to be primarily speaking Spanish in his kindergarten year and more so in 1st grade, how was he going to learn to read English? And it's amazing how he's learned to read Spanish and the learning English has happened simultaneously, and now he chooses to read books in Spanish, but he can read things in English too.
A mis hijos quise darles la oportunidad que yo no tuve. No solo hablan, no solo van a hablar español, ellos van a escribir, van a leer y hablar perfecto español. Y también su inglés, escribirlo, hablarlo, y no solo ofrece 2 idiomas, ofrece un futuro muy grande. Y yo tengo mucha suerte porque mis hijos tienen esa gran oportunidad. Es para ellos.
It's a very good opportunity for any child, and we have a huge step ahead. We get a huge advantage from other students that are just learning English.
Otra gente tendría que pagar mucho dinero o tener que encontrar otra forma de aprender 2 lenguajes. Siento que estaba yo perdiendo un poco el español y sentí que era bueno porque yo estaba mejorando mi español pero también estaba aprendiendo inglés.
Our teachers are very important to the program. Teachers in dual language immersion schools are required to have their general education licensure, as well as being fully bilingual in both English and Spanish. So they have those cross-cultural skills that are needed to work with a wide range of families.
This smells like fish water. Can we put one in there?
It's a wonderful opportunity to teach in 2 languages and to promote bilingualism, which I deeply believe in, having grown up bilingual myself. So I'm very happy to be part of that.
Dado que el aprendizaje de la cultura y el lenguaje requieren tiempo, les recomendamos a los estudiantes que permanezcan en el programa bilingüe de doble inmersión hasta que terminen la preparatoria. En Madison, los estudiantes tienen acceso al programa bilingüe de doble inmersión de kinder a 12º grado.
It shows the capacity of children to learn and for their minds to expand, and I certainly think that every parent should consider and want their child to be in a program like this. It has been phenomenal for my son.
It's such an amazing opportunity in a public school, in our neighborhood, to be able to give her a complete second language for free and still have her be a part of the public school system is amazing.
Yo pienso que la doble inversión es muy importante porque ahora en este tiempo los niños aprendiendo 2 idiomas tienen mejores oportunidades.
All right, thank you very much. So as you can see, there's quite a bit that goes into this program and how rich the classroom experience is. This next slide is showing what the goal is of the dual language immersion program. And as I mentioned before, it's to make sure that our students become bilingual, biliterate, and bicultural. And here you could see some explanations of those. Thank you. Here on this slide, you could see of all the benefits of being bilingual. I actually was very lucky to grow up as a bilingual child. But you could see here, I won't go into reading every little words under it, but as just to say, preventing dementia, being able to switch between tasks, improving memory, that I can attest to, focusing on multiple tasks, multiple things, and also the denser gray matter, actually part of the brain, and improving decision-making skills. All right, and I think
we're very excited to be able to share that the program in Castro Valley will be TK to 12th grade. I've already saw a question that was already asked, would this go on until 12th grade? So when students begin as kindergartners next year, they'll be part of the graduating class of 2035, and our TKs will be a part of the graduating class of 2036. So the district is very visionary in its planning, wanting to go slow to go deeper, to make sure that we start with a strong foundation in the elementary years, K-5 in Castro Valley. And this is a progression of how our students will be proceeding with their skills of becoming bicultural, biliterate, and bilingual, and a broad base of focus on the content area and vocabulary. Then they move into the middle school years. And our district is going to be grades 6 through 8, where they talk about their learning skills and get deeper into the cultural competencies and awareness. And then in 9th grade, based upon the progression that the students are going to be making in our program, a lot of them will be able to do Spanish or Spanish speakers at a more advanced level, and then prepare themselves for the advanced placement Spanish course, which is AP Spanish language. And then as they move forward into the next year is the AP Spanish literature. Then as they move on in the progression before they graduate, some of them want to take another language, and Spanish is part of the Romance languages, and they can take French, Italian, or Portuguese. And a lot of them may want to concurrently enroll in a community college advanced language course. So they'll have a greater level of understanding and knowledge and competency as being definitely bilingual, and some of them become trilingual because they'll definitely be engaged in understanding languages. So that's the sample of the progression that we're going to be doing within our district, starting with the elementary, moving into middle school and high school, and getting them prepared for post-secondary education. Next slide, please. So there is a lot of research that will let us know how well students are doing, but our program is going to be implemented at Vinoy Elementary School, and that was one of the questions that we also had. And our principal, who you just heard from, Ms. De La Torre, will be leading the process for this district program that's going to be housed at Vinoy Elementary School, and we're very pleased to be able to make that available to all students within the Castro Valley community. Next slide, please. So I would say there's a lot of research that talks about the progression of students who are involved in a dual language immersion program. By 5th grade, they will have advanced 7 additional months beyond their peers, and by 8th grade, another 9 additional months because of the level of involvement that they're working on with 2 languages, that they will be very advanced. Our English learners are also able to be more likely to be reclassified as English proficient by grade 6, based upon many studies of research that has been provided to us that we have looked at, as well as working with other dual language immersion programs in our area, as well as across the state. Next slide, please. And so additional studies by Thomas and Collier, we're going to be doing, as stated earlier, the 90-10 program starting in the TKK with 90% of the instruction in Espanol, 10% in English, and then progress the levels as we go forward in terms of 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, up until 4th grade, where it'll be 50% in Espanol, 50% in English. And it also talks about the research that native Spanish speakers are able to maintain their English as well as added a second language to their knowledge base and be way above the 50 percentile in all subject areas on various assessments. Next slide, please.
So I know there's a couple of questions in the Q&A in regards to, okay, so how do folks enroll? And there is a lot of excitement around this program. So the link in this, and we're going to share this on our website, but I wanted to go to the next slide and really kind of just chunk in a short way about the enrollment process. So we have a timeline and the actions here. In January and February, parents, like they do every year, will enroll in their regular homeschool. But along with that enrollment, there will be an application for the DLI program. So along with the regular school enrollment process, there'll be an application. And along with that, we'll also do a language, for those families that are interested, we'll do a language proficiency assessment of the students whose language is, the primary language is Spanish. So that'll happen in January and February. Also in February, if we have more students that apply than we have actual space for, we will conduct a lottery, just like we do with Creekside Lottery. So we have lots of experience with that. The priorities, and this was also a question in the chat, the priorities would start with interested students who have siblings at Vinoy School already, then all Castro Valley Unified School District students, and the last priority would be students that are outside of Castro Valley. So I know there was a question like, will this program accept students from outside the district? First, we're going to focus on Castro Valley students, and then after, if we still have space, then we would have external students from outside Castro Valley. And then in February and March, we will send out acceptance letters. We will also send out waitlist communications so that our communication plan is very, very clear. That'll happen in February, March. And then last but not least, in April, May, we'll have classroom orientations with the teachers and the students so that we can start to build that community that is so important, along with the other students and staff that are at Vinoy Elementary School. Next slide. Barbara? I think Barbara's volume's not working. So what we want to make sure we emphasize, there you go. Okay.
So we all know that it's important that we have the parent and the family support on all of our programs, and even more so now because we are dealing with dual languages. So we're, number one, would want parents to be committed to be involved in the program for multiple years, 5 to 6 years. And along with that, what we expect, the kind of support we suspect would be the same that we would want in our other programs, is that parents will provide a place for kids to study, provide bilingual information and materials at home, work closely with the program staff, the teachers. And because we are supporting the 3 Bs, the bilateral, bicultural, and bilingual portions of the program, we would want the parents to have the kids be exposed to some authentic exchanges of dialogue in community events, festivals and concerts, recitals, and cultural events. But also, we want them to speak to the kids in dual languages, that they speak in Spanish at home, that they work with them during their homework, and work closely with their teachers. And the teachers will guide them through the process of how they can best support their kids in the program. And the next one is our FAQs. And what we have done in the past, we have collected all of the questions that our audiences have contributed to during our workshops and meetings on dual language. And we have linked those questions into our flyers. And so if you check the flyer or click on the frequently asked questions here, you can get a copy of that. And we will also have it in our newly formed website for the dual language program. So we're happy to have that website up and going now. And so that would be a place that you can click in to get the most recent information on what's happening in the dual language program.
So now we've arrived really at the time where we want to make sure that we can answer any questions that you have. And so what we can do is, I think that there's been several questions and I've been answering some questions along the way in the chat, but we'll kind of go through one after another and maybe we'll all take some as we go. I know there's a question in there. It's unfortunate that the program will only begin at the K and TK levels. It would be ideal for it to be offered for all students. We have done, we would love to offer it to every grade level. In working with our different, the folks that have gone before us and really built DLI programs successfully, best practices really is to start at those younger ages and build on a successful program. We want to make sure that we get it right, that we get high quality teachers, that we are making sure that we have the right mix of students. We know we're looking for 50% primary Spanish speakers, 50% English only speakers, and then we also get the gender balance right. We want to make sure that we have girls and boys, so that is all kind of balanced out. So we'll start at the younger grade levels, and then we will build up into the middle schools and high schools, and eventually, it'll take some years, as Dr. Douglas was saying. This first class, kinders are going to graduate in 2035. So we've got some years to build this program out all the way from TK up until 12th grade. Why was Vanoy Elementary the chosen school to implement this program? And would there be plans to implement the program at other schools? So right now, we only have a plan to implement a Spanish DLI program at Vanoy Elementary School. Vanoy was chosen for a number of reasons. We think the location is good. It's rather centrally located. We have good space at Vanoy Elementary School to really build the program out. We have an absolutely amazing leader who is bilingual and so passionate about this work. There's so many different things that are in favor of having the program at Vanoy. So we're going to start at Vanoy. We don't have other plans right now to implement any other elementary school at this point. And then maybe some other folks want to take on a couple of the questions. Let's see.
So I guess let's start from the top. The first question from the top is, hello, my son is already in the 4th grade at Chabot and would like to learn Spanish. Could CV Castro Valley Elementary Schools offer some kind of Spanish classes for all grades, not just from TK? It could even be an after-school program, etc., at least basic Spanish. And I'll just add to what Ms. Rashishi was saying earlier. First of all, in terms of starting a new program, we have to start somewhere, and at this point, it will be for TK and kindergarten, beginning with the Vinoy program. We have in the past offered an after-school program that taught basic Spanish school skills at the elementary level. However, based on how that program was implemented and the feedback that we got from the participants, we wanted to go much deeper and provide a more robust program. And so that's why the dual language immersion program was developed in its stead. That said, when students do get to middle school, then world language is offered to middle school students, as it always has been. However, at this point, we won't have the capacity to offer DLI at other school sites or at other grade levels beginning now. Also, a best practice, as Dr. Douglas was sharing earlier, a best practice is always to start students at the earliest grades, especially the 90-10 model, which is the most broadly used and most well-researched model for dual language immersion, typically begins at the kindergarten level. And so to start at later grades actually doesn't do justice to the quality of program that we'd like to offer. Will this program be offered to elementary schools in Castro Valley only? This particular program is a Castro Valley Unified School District program, and it is starting at the elementary level. As Dr. Douglas and Ms. Rashishi spoke to earlier, it will grow into a program that is a K-12 program. As students age up into later grades, the program will expand with them and will follow them all the way to the high school level, where hopefully they'll all be completing and getting 5s on the AP exam when they're in high school. So maybe I'll take one more and then I'll try to popcorn it. I transferred my son from Castro Valley to Hayward School District because of this program. I'm assuming we mean the reverse. Oh, I was hoping to transition back to Castro Valley, but he will be in 1st grade next year. It looks like he will not be able to transition. Is that correct? That is correct. Unfortunately, 1st grade students wouldn't be able to participate on a dual language immersion program. However, I will say we have excellent schools across the district offering great educational opportunities. But if your child is already attending the dual language immersion program in Hayward, and you absolutely want to be enrolled in a dual language immersion program, we don't have a competing program at the higher grade levels, unfortunately. And I will popcorn to Principal De La Torre.
All right, thank you. The next question that I'm seeing, it says, will masks be worn learning a new language? I think seeing the way your mouth moves is important. I mean, I can say for right now, even in my classrooms right now, teachers, especially in the primary grades, will wear the masks, but they have the little window so they could see the shape of the words they're pronouncing and sounds. So yes, as long as, we need to follow the county guidance, and if we need to wear masks, we need to wear more masks. But I know our teachers do wear if needed. All right. Thank you. Let's see, next one's, I think it's a comment. It's unfortunately program only begin at the kinder and TK levels. It'd be ideal to be offered to all students. Yeah, we will be starting with the TK kinder. If a younger child is accepted into the program, can their older sibling also switch to Vanoy Elementary? This would depend on if we have room at Vanoy. It all has to do with the enrollment. So for example, if your child that entered the DLI program as a kindergartner, but you have a 3rd grader at, let's say, Marshall, and if we have room in 3rd grade, we'll work on that. But if there isn't, then, unfortunately, we can't make that move at that time. Would the child be able to join the program if their primary language is Cantonese? Good question.
So So students of all language backgrounds will be allowed to join the program, although the DLI program will be a Spanish language dual immersion program. So if a student has a primary language of Cantonese or another primary language, they would still be allowed to join the dual language immersion program. However, they would be learning 90% Spanish during those first few years. I don't know, Dr. Douglas, Ms. Rashichi, if you have anything you'd add to that.
Dr. Ryman, you're definitely correct. The student would have to be, if they're a Cantonese speaker, they will be looked at as part of our English speaking 50%. And they would have to be comfortable in English in order for us to be able to make that particular balance in the classroom. But all languages are definitely welcome. It's just a level of proficiency in English for the dual language immersion program.
Thank you.
And very exciting to be trilingual. All right. Next question is, this feels like something that could have been mentioned earlier, so I want to verify, since my kid is in 4th grade going to 5th, is not relevant to her, correct? Yeah, so that would be as they move into middle school, they will have an opportunity to take world languages.
And for Mr. and Ms. Middow, I would add, actually that's a very good point. In future communications, we'll make sure to note somewhere at the opening that the program is open for beginning kindergartners and transitional kindergartners, so that there's no confusion to folks attending the presentation.
And I will answer, will it eventually be at all Castro Valley schools?
Right, and right now we are only planning to implement a DLI school at a DLI program at Vanoy Elementary School. And really, I think it depends on demand. We can't tell what the future brings, but we'll start at Vanoy, build on that program, and see where that goes. Let's see. If there is a lot of interest, is there any chance that the program may expand to more than one site? And if so, would that be something that would happen by next year? So I can definitely say that we will only be starting at one school next year. We know that there's a lot of interest. We did send out an interest survey to the community, and we got lots of great feedback. The overwhelmingly in support of students for learning 2 languages, overwhelmingly in support of implementing a Spanish DLI program. So we know the support is out there. We believe that the demand will be, but we're going to start with one school, TK and K at Vanoy, and see where we build from there. How many students will be admitted to each grade? So we will have the same class sizes that we have in our other programs. So at the TK-2 level, our class size is 25. And at the, sorry, is that correct? Yeah, TK-3?
Yes, yes, the 3rd grade.
Right, so TK-3, 25, and then 4th and 5th grade at 32. Let's see, how many children will be accepted? So, oh, wait, I think we already said that. Let's see, are there any plans for extending language? Oh, wait, let's see. Are there any plans for extending language skills outside this program? This invite was sent to the parents of current students, but none of our kids are eligible. So at this point, again, we are focused on implementing the DLI program only at TKK. We know that there's been lots of questions, not just tonight, but in other meetings about wanting to have other programs. And so we need to talk about that a little bit more. I know we've put a lot of our energies into just making sure that this goes very, very right for the students that are going to be enrolled. But we are hearing a lot of feedback. It came up at the parent leadership meeting today as well. And so we are looking at, there's a couple of organizations that we are also thinking about partnering with an organization called CV Play that is interested in doing a lot of after school programming. So maybe we can tie all of those pieces together and get some after school programs going. Let's see, what timeline to expand this program for into the higher grades? Will it just be following the TKK cohort? Yes, every year we will add one more grade level. So next year, 2022-23 is TK and K, 23-24 will be 1st grade, and so on. Let's see, is all the subjects in dual language or just one subject? So for the beginning program, we are doing a 90-10 model. So 90% of the instruction will be in Spanish, 10% will be in English for TKK. And then as we go up through the grade levels, that changes. So first grade 80-20, second grade 70-30, 60-40. And then by fourth grade, we're at 50-50. 50% in Spanish, 50% English, and then on from that moment on till middle school and high school, 50% of the languages in Spanish and 50% in English.
And Ms. Rashichi, for clarity, that is for all subject areas, correct?
For all subject areas. Let's see. How many students are expected to be in the program? So right now we're planning for 1 TK program, 2 kinders, but again, it depends on demand. And so we're going to see, just like I said, in January, February, when that enrollment process happens and those families that are interested in applying, they'll apply and we'll see what the real demand is for people that really want to come into the actual program at the appropriate grade level with TKK. Do we know what middle school the program will be housed at? We have not talked about that yet. We have 2 middle schools, Kenyon and Creekside, but as we get closer to that time, because that's about 5-6 years out, we will obviously be getting more information out to folks. But again, in middle school, our students can and do participate in world languages starting at in middle school age group, regardless whether you're at Creekside or Canyon. Let's see, will the class size be the same as regular classes in Castro Valley? Yes, the class sizes will be the same as the other classes in Castro Valley schools. Will the students enrolled in this program remain at Vanoy through middle school and high school? Oh, so they will, so students will start in TK, matriculate all the way to 5th grade, and then students will go to middle school and high school. So Vanoy will continue to be a TK5 elementary school. What qualifications, let's see, what qualifications will be expected of DLI teachers, specific credentials? And so, Mr. Douglas, would you talk a little bit about that?
Certainly. Right now, they have to have a credential that they call B-clad to be proficient and be bilingual, both proficiency in the Spanish language as well as English language. And there are other certifications that we'll be working with our HR department to make sure they have a strong proficiency in both languages for certification. They have to be credentialed to be able to teach a self-contained program, a multiple subject credential, and then there's a credential called B-clad, and there's another one in terms of biliteracy in Espanol that they could choose to have as well. But they have to be highly qualified, highly prepared to be a part of this program.
Thank you, Dr. Douglas. Okay, let's see. The next question, let's see. If a student is currently in 1st grade and if in 23-24 you add 2nd grade, can my child transfer? So the answer to that question is it's kind of like there's a little bit of mix. So we've had some students that have we're starting in the TKK grade levels, and we're building on that skill that's built at the foundational levels of TKK. So if a student, depending on a student's bilingual skills, say they were not in a DLI program, there are opportunities and instances where a student who comes with some dual language already could be transferred into a program as we matriculate up, but those are pretty rare occasions when a student is really qualified to do that. So it would be on a case-by-case basis where we would be able to accept students into the program who have not been in the program from the very beginning. Let's see, will waitlisted students be able to enter mid-pro? Oh, okay, if seats become available. I think it's the timing of everything. If the seats became available at close to the end of the year, that would be questionable. If it came around the time where we were still building that foundation at the beginning, so it's the beginning of the year, then we could probably consider that. I think these kind of questions are really going to be on a case-by-case basis given the specific circumstances to that particular child. Will the children be involved with sports, dances, and other school activities once they hit junior high? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Full programming. Absolutely. Do you already have teachers? We do not have the teachers hired yet. We have some interest from teachers inside of Castro Valley Unified School District, and you will start to see promotions right after the Thanksgiving holiday for job postings for our DLI teachers. At this point, how many classes of TK and K will there be? Right now, we are planning for 1 TK classroom and up to 2 kinder classrooms. Will there be a possibility of having other languages for DLI? So we are starting with Spanish, and we're calling this kind of phase 1. We want to build this out and really make sure that our phase 1 is very strong. I think in the future, anything's possible, but right now we're only planning for a Spanish DLI program. How many slots are there? Will date of birth eligibility follow the 2021 enrollment? So I'm going to answer this question and hopefully this answers it. So we're starting with 1 TK and up to 2 Ks. And the class size is 25. So 25 TKs, up to 50 kindergarten students. And that's what we're starting with. How many students will be admitted into the class? So that's about the same. In the future, will other languages be offered? That is not the plan at this time. We're going to start with Spanish, stick with Spanish, and make sure that we do that really strongly. Besides being a bilingual class, they will be integrated into Vanoy Elementary School the same as any other class. Yes, we are going. It is one school. Our teachers will be working together. Our students will be working together. So we have a dual language immersion program that's on the campus of Vanoy that will be embedded into the Vanoy community. It will be one school. If the kindergarten program is over-enrolled, if the kindergarten program is over-enrolled this year, will there be an opportunity for the child to be accepted in first grade? So again, I think that's almost the same kind of question. We're going to start with TK. We're going to start with, TK and K, see where we get as far as demand, and then those grade levels will matriculate up to first grade.
And just cutting just for one moment, Ms. Rashichi, just and out of respect for everyone's time, I'm seeing, even though you're doing a great job getting through and answering the questions are growing almost as quickly as you're answering them. So as we mentioned earlier, we are going to have a Q&A website. Any questions that we're not able to get to this evening, we will post written responses to those, as well as a recording of this video on the district website, which will link out to the DLI program website. Sorry to have interrupted.
No, that's great. Yeah, thank you for and then once I hand this off to some other folks answering, I'll actually get the website and put that in the chat so that folks can have access to the website and know where the Q&A is actually.
And I can take a couple because I saw you sipping water and I know your throat must be. So
okay.
I'll try my best. Please jump in and help me if I misspeak at any point or if there's anything to add. So the next question is, have you gathered any data on interest? Just wondering what the likelihood of a lottery will be. We are currently gathering information on interest. We'll know a lot more information once enrollment really begins. And we actually see how many students and families are interested in enrolling. At that point, then we'll know if we need to do a lottery. That should happen for TK somewhere in January, February, sometime around March for kindergarten. Does that sound right? All right. Once you have a child in the program, will another child applying in the following years have priority? Good question. I don't know the answer to that. Are we giving priority for siblings in future years?
Dr. Ryman, I mean, once they're in the program, they will continue because they'll become part of the program unless other things, extenuating circumstances occur. Siblings, based upon our progression, if there were space available and if they were already in the process in terms of on the wait list, then they would be looked at as anyone else. An equitable process.
But in terms of if a student joins as a kindergartner this year and say they have a 1-year-old, 2-year-old baby brother, baby sister, later on down the line, we haven't made that decision as to whether or not there will be a sibling preference. I don't believe it is, right? Okay, thank you, Dr. Douglas. Is Spanish proficiency also a priority consideration since you're aiming for 50% Spanish speakers? It's absolutely a consideration, having enough native Spanish speakers. Whether or not that will influence the likelihood of a student being enrolled who's an English only student with some Spanish proficiency, I don't know. I don't believe so, but answer me if that's correct. I think that it's either you're falling in that category of an English only student or in the category of a native Spanish speaker.
That's correct, Dr. Ryan.
Okay, thank you. El primer idioma de mi hijo es español. Es conveniente meterlo en. Yes, it is. If your primary language is Spanish, definitely, as we said before, half of the students who are enrolled in this program will speak Spanish. So thank you for that question. Will you expand the program eventually to higher grades, meaning that it's a program? Yes, so the program will continue to grow with students and follow that cohort all the way through high school. However, if you have a student who is a first grader now, unfortunately, unless something changes in the out years, there are no plans currently for the program to catch up to older students. With the schedule for TKK at the DLI mirrored that of CV in general, or would it be potentially adjusted so the pickup drop-off can occur with other children at other schools? So it would match the schedule for Vinoy. And part of the reason is because we are hoping to find space to accommodate siblings if we can. So if we do have space at Vinoy, we would like to be able to do that. As you can imagine, it would be very frustrating if you had a kindergartner at Vinoy and a third grader at Vinoy, and that different bell schedules just because one was in the DLI program. So we do want to make sure that we have a singular schedule there. How many children will be accepted into the program next year? I believe Ms. Rashichi answered that earlier. If a kindergarten student attends the first year of the DLI program and then they transfer to a school that doesn't have DLI, would that child meet first grade standards and be up to par with other first graders? That's an excellent question. So the research on dual language immersion says that overall, over the course of their studies, by the time they graduate from high school, moving all the way down to the 3rd and 4th grade, dual language immersion students outperform students both in the target language of Spanish as well as English. However, it does take some time to get there. So in those first couple of years, as students are learning 90% Spanish, 80% Spanish, 20% English, etc., you can imagine those students would not have the same level, likely, would not have the same level of English language acquisition as they would have otherwise. However, by the 3rd grade, 4th grade, and moving forward, they should not only meet, but exceed the performance of their counterparts in an English-only program. Chloe, with the child has priority of Vinoy as their homeschool. Oh, well, applicants who are Vinoy students have priority for enrollment in DLI, I think is the question. So currently the idea is that all students are applying from across the district. We certainly hope we have space to accommodate all students.
And then if we, you know, if depending on demand, if we have more demand than what we have space for, then we get into a lottery situation where if the student that's being enrolled has siblings at Vinoy, then that's the first priority. Second priority is all Castro Valley Unified School District students, and then third priority are students outside of Castro Valley. So there is once we get to a lottery situation, then we have a priority situation.
Yeah. And I'm seeing, I was going to say we have 20 questions and 2 minutes remaining, but we now have 21 questions and 2 minutes remaining. So I'd say we have time, say, to answer 3 or 4 more questions. We can go a little bit over, but we don't want to deprive anyone who's wanting to be on this call and get all the information of that opportunity. So let's just take a few more. This one, you mentioned that you were aiming for 50-50 Spanish native speakers and English native speakers. What is the percentage of native speakers you need to make the program viable? For example, if you get 40% only, would the program still proceed? And I don't know the answer to that question, if there's a threshold at which you have a good quality program. So if, for example, we had 40% Spanish speakers and we didn't have enough. Dr. Douglas, Ms. Rashichi, do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, I think
Sure.
the answer is, oh, go ahead, Dr. Douglas.
No, yes, we will proceed, but we will have capacity for that other 10% because we want that nice balance for the research that says it makes it happen. But absolutely, we will move forward.
So we would continue, even if it was a lower threshold, we would continue, but we would reserve seats for English learners, native Spanish speakers. Got it. Thank you. Does that mean 25 TK students and another 25 kindergarten students? Yes, it does. So we're talking about offering full cohorts in both kindergarten and TK. What is the student to teacher ratio for TK? Is that also 25, Ms. Rashichi?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so 25 is the cohort. And let's say for the last question, as you roll out more grades, will you also start to roll out more schools? At this time, with the exception of when we move to secondary, which of course would mean adding more schools, we're looking at offering it at Vinoy. Now, in future years, depending on the success of this program, we may decide to offer additional programs moving forward. But right now, we want to make sure this is a successful program and provide the best quality that we possibly can. And that said, we are at 7:01. Let's take one more. Is the enrollment for DLI going to be in addition to full enrollment at Vinoy, or will enrollment at Vinoy be reduced to offset the increase in students due to this program? That's a great question. We actually are adding classes in order to accommodate the DLI program. There won't be a negative impact on the Vinoy community should you not want to be a part of the DLI program, and we'll be making sure that we have the full program. This is going to be a tremendous opportunity for Vinoy as a school community, whether or not you're a part of the DLI program, because all students will benefit, will interact with each other. And so we were very conscious of not wanting to do something that would negatively impact our core Vinoy program. I don't know, Principal De La Torre, is there anything that you would add to that?
No, I think this is, our enrollment every year changes. And last year our enrollment, but I mean, it wasn't just, Vanoy, Castro Valley in California, enrollment dropped. So we do have the space on site for the program.
Awesome. Thank you for that response. Right, so that brings us to the end of our Q&A period. As I mentioned before, we do have the remaining 18 questions here, and we will save these questions and we will answer them and post them on our district website and our DLI website in the Q&A form. I don't know, Ms. Rashichi, Principal De La Torre, Dr. Douglas, Ms. Evans, any closing ideas, thoughts?
No, I don't think so. I think I think we had one last slide that just really talked about our next steps. And that involves, I can just say, it involves, we're going to be hiring teachers. That was a question over the next couple of months, because we want to start strong in the, in the new year with building up program, doing professional development, going through that whole enrollment process. We'll continue our looking at the results of our community interest survey, which have been amazing. And we're basically, it's all getting ready for full implementation of the TK and K classrooms in the 22-23 school year. So lots of work to still be done to be really ready, but we're excited, and the community response has been great. So we just appreciate everybody being here tonight, and we'll get those questions out. We'll send them out As Dr. Ryman said, we'll get them on the website. Make sure that your sites also send the information out. Your site leadership leaders will get that information out so that you get that information in a number of different ways. We're really dedicated to making sure that folks have the information so you can make an informed decision about DLI or not DLI for the 22-23 school year. So with that, I think Dr. Ryman and team, I think we're going to say good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches a todos.
Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you to our interpreters.